I went to school for cosmetology. It's like, okay, you get had my interviews for cosmetology and everything, and they were like, okay, you can bring your people here and you can actually, start working here. I think I was making more money doing hair from my home than I, you know, put in the shop, but I suppose. But anyway, but no, I think at that time I was like, okay, fine. I need to get some kind of stability and find a career where I can provide for my child.
Welcome back, everybody, back to another exciting show, the About That Water podcast, where we help the sandwich generation build strong financial habits so that they can talk about money, spend money, and enjoy their money with confidence. And today, I have somebody that's very dear to my heart, the one who actually created my heart, my mom.
Hello.
How you doing today, Mom?
I'm doing well.
That's good. We talking about growing up being in a single household. And so where would you like to start at with that? Because
I guess I could start at the beginning because actually it was a two-parent household.
Mhm.
And my father was he actually died in a car accident. So at the age of 8, everything completely changed where, he's no longer there in our life. So yeah. So now the finances actually changed because my mom, she didn't work. You get up in the morning, your mom's there, cook you breakfast before you go to school and everything. And then coming home, we had dinner at 5:35. And my mom, she loved to cook. So she had a recipe box and everything like that. So she basically cooked and everything. She took care of the house. And my dad, traditional family, almost like Leave It to Beaver, where dad worked and mom basically stayed home. But at the age of 8, when he was killed, everything changed. So now my mom, she actually has to um, get the finances together and basically teach us about the finances. So growing up in a single family home, it was basically every once a month. What we had to do is my brother and I, at this age, we're like 9 and 10 years old. We actually had to. My mom would get a piece of paper, like here's all the bills, and had all three of us add up. It was no calculator at that time, but it was like add up this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill. What did you get? What did you get? What did you get? And it was like every month. It was, basically that's what she did. Basically budget a lot. Yeah, and
So how was it?
taught me how to budget.
So how was it when as far as getting access to that, did she share with that with y'all? Like getting access to like his estate or anything like that to kind of help pay the bills and so forth?
Well, she shared a little. Well, yeah. So now my father, he was a construction worker. He was a contractor. And so now that income is no longer coming in. And basically, we lived off of Social Security. So we had a fixed income under Social Security. And back that time, it was 4 of us. And my mom, basically, we didn't qualify for food stamps. We didn't qualify for Medicaid. We didn't qualify for any of that because my father passed away and we got Social Security, which overqualifies for those programs. So everything that we were adding up, it was basically how much is going to be left, like after the bills were paid, how much is going to be left for food and how much is going to be left for, gas for the car and everything. My dad left my mom, pretty good money where she just went to the car dealer and just bought the car outright for at the dealer. But to actually have money for gas and everything, so we was on a strict budget. We were on a strict budget for that. Basically, had the bills to pay.
Yeah. How did that make you feel to kind of help her out?
I was 10 years old, so it was like adding up finances and everything, make me feel a little good, and they had to add everything up. And then my brother, he had to add everything up as well and figure out, what we received. And yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
So how was that? Because I know for sure that you used to tell me that you used to make all the clothes for everybody. So where did that come from?
Yes. So part of our budget was, there was limited monies for clothing and things like that. So what we would do is we would make our school clothes. We would actually go to the fabric store. Mom taught us, my sister knew how to sew. She actually went to school for sewing and she passed that down to us and how to use the machines and everything like that. So yes, we made our clothing for school. We bought it was cheaper to buy material for our summer jobs. For my summer job, what I would do is I would get my summer job and get the material and everything, and we made our clothing for school. Clothing for school.
Yep. Tell us about it.
Okay, so yes, my sister and I we made our clothing for school basically when we were in high school, but okay, yeah, we made our clothing for school. There were 2 points in my life because basically there was another point where as soon as my father passed away, my mom we went on a shopping spree, so we did a lot of shopping, and we always shopped at Hex. So from there, we bought clothing and everything from Hex, and that was the store. And then, of course, Hex turned to Macy's. That's why I shop at now. I still shop at Macy's.
Why you got Macy's stock at this point? That's right.
I should, really shop at
Yeah.
Macy's style. But yes, so basically that was pretty much it. We always worked on budgeting when I was coming up. And as a young adult, having children young, I actually did the same thing where I would budget, clip coupons and save where I could.
Yeah. But how was it growing up I guess, because usually most of our money habits and formulations of money starts around 7 or 8.
Hmm.
And for that to be such a tragic event, um, how was how was that event impact the way how you view finances today?
Wow, that's a good question. That was such a long time ago. I guess back then budgeting was, I guess I always look for a deal. I always look for a good deal and I'm always budgeting. And I guess that's the large impact that it had where I'm always looking to save, where I can because actually I always have to make stretch a dollar.
Hmm.
Yeah, make a dollar into $10 or something like that. And also, when I got older and I started working for Macy's and I would actually see the clothing price at one price and then 3 weeks later the same clothing go down about 75%. It's like I can wait 3 weeks. I can do that, I can wait to
Hmm.
buy something else. Yeah, I can do that.
So, would you say delayed gratification will be one of your major strong points?
I would say so. I would say so. In that. And also at a young age learning how to budget. I mean, although we went shopping at Hex a lot, we went to the bargain basement part of Hex. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what about brands? Because in we always got to show up with brands for some reason in the Black and Brown community. But why was it not a big thing for you?
Basically, the neighborhood we grew up in, everyone was homeowners. And when your main priority is to make sure that your mortgage is paid and make sure you had gas and electric and make sure your priority bills were paid, basically, I guess in our community, it was homeowners and you review brands aren't going to be the main objective, I guess you can say, or as long as you were clean and your clothes were decent, no holes in them, and you were clean, you were okay. We, mm, that's a good question, but brands, I remember I got my first pair of Nikes when they first came out back in the 70s and everything. That was something I really worked for. But no, I wasn't never into much into brands, into too many brands.
So Nike, wow. Okay, because thinking about so brands were fashion was back then, and from me looking at your old photos, you used to
Mhm.
have the wild hairstyles, and then um I think your fashion sense, I think you had mostly what, like leather back then? Or was it plaid?
That was basically okay. You're looking at photos from the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking about, like back then. How you growing
yeah,
up.
but yeah. Back in the 80s, yeah, I had a lot of plaid. As I got older, but it wasn't a brand name. You probably
Mm,
saw. I made I had a plaid skirt. I used to wear a plaid skirt a lot. I would wear a plaid skirt with a solid top or something like that. It wasn't a brand name. I probably found it for something on sale or something like that, but it wasn't a brand name. Honestly, it wasn't until I was an adult that I fell in love with Coach purses. When I first saw them, I was like, I'm not paying that much for a purse. But when I started working at Macy's, the lady told me, she said, no, this is an investment. I said, oh, okay. I understand now. Instead of me buying a new purse every 3 months, let me go ahead and drop, $200 or $300 on this purse that will last me years. So it
that's
became an
smart.
investment. Hmm.
So looking at quality versus the quantity of stuff.
Right. Hmm. Looking at quality instead of quantity.
So, so understanding that growing up in a as a single parent, me in a single parent household, did
Hmm.
that impact the way how you actually parent when you had me?
Yes, it did. Oh my goodness, it did. Because I always wanted when I have children that they didn't have to worry about where the next meal was coming from or how much the gas and electric is or how much the food is or how much anything is. I just wanted you to la di da, you know, go about life and like, ooh, nothing to worry about, you know, just carefree. You can just do whatever you wanted to do. Let your mind explode or explore because you don't have that worry about how much this cost or how much that cost or, you can just do you. I guess it did. Yeah. Because once a month we had that task of, my brothers and I had that task of adding up everything. Yeah. So you add it up, not once, but maybe twice or three times and say, okay, what did you get? What did you get? What did you get? I want to go outside and play. I'm 10 years old. I just want to play.
So,
Yeah. Christmas time, I
and
put toys together. I just want to play. So I say, okay, when I had children, I just want them to go play. Yeah.
we did play a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's in the first 2 years, I don't remember. It was just me for the first 2 years. So, having me and being your first, like, take us back to being a mom. And what was that like? Just being like a brand new mom, you're in your teens.
Hmm.
Um, and what were you feeling?
At that time, let me see, what was I feeling? Basically, like, what is my next move? I need to strategize because I need to look into the future and how I want my child to grow up and the opportunities I want him to have. So how can I get myself together so that he can have those opportunities that I didn't have or I didn't think that I had. So basically, I know when, yeah, I had at a young age, of course. And when I was in high school, basically my counselor, she actually took me on a college tour. Basically, she was telling me that you can have your child and go to college. After you have your child, you can do this. You can basically do that. And I was like, oh, okay. At the time, I wasn't like thinking of that because my thing is, I'm gonna get my own place. I'm gonna get a job. Doing what? I went to school for cosmetology. It's like, okay, you get my interviews for cosmetology and everything. And they were like, okay, you can bring your people here and you can actually, start working here. I think I was making more money doing hair from my home than I, you know, could in the shop, but I suppose so. But anyway, but no, I think at that time I was like, okay, fine. I need to get some kind of stability and find a career where I can provide for my child. Because then again, like I said, we didn't have, we weren't on a system or what they call a system. We weren't on a system. So basically, like when I was carrying you, your dad had to make monthly payments to the hospital because there was no Medicaid. There was no like food stamps or anything like that. So any money he gave me for you buying your clothes and things like that, because we weren't, you weren't raised in the system. My first my first job was at Wendy's. I said, okay, fine. I work here. It's only temporary. And then from Wendy's, what I did was, I worked 2 jobs. I worked at the photomat. If people can remember the photomat, the
Right.
little booth where actually develop film and everything like that. So here I am. I have a 1-year-old and I'm working 2 jobs because that's what I need to do to, provide to, work 2 jobs. And then from there, then I got the job at the dark room. That's, I got pregnant with your brother. I got the job at the dark room. Still not living on the system, just learning how to budget,
Right.
which I already know how to do growing up, you know. Yeah.
Unknowingly, yeah.
Yeah. Unknowingly, yeah. I already know how to budget. So, take that dollar, you know, do it like that. But yeah.
Okay, so what would you give yourself? Do you still give yourself grace for back then? Just for like putting in the work and not giving up?
Give myself grace. I don't know. I always look there's always room for improvement. There's always room to do more. I don't know. Okay. A short story. When I had you and your brother, and then I was robbed. I was always getting robbed in the stores or whatever. So one of the girls that I work with, she's told me, she said, why are you working? And I said, what do you mean? She said, you can live in a system. She said, you have 2 children. You can live in a system. And where I grew up and also in our family, that wasn't heard of. No, you get out and you work. You
Mm-hmm.
don't live in a system. But when she told me that, I gave it some thought and I was like, no, I'll still work. I just told the company I need another store to manage. I'm not going to manage another store. I keep getting robbed. So that's what I did. I continued to work. At that moment, it could have been a pivot where I could have actually quit my job and lived on the system and then probably went to school from there. But no, I just continued to work. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
Continue to
And I
work.
and I've noticed that growing up, you always had at least 2 or 3 jobs. It wasn't never like, hey, I just got one job, come home, go to sleep, and go back and do it again. Is it because that notion of your mom, the way how she grew, you like living in that household decided like, you know what? I think this is time to change. I don't want this.
I guess that was part of it. And my very first job, I worked at Wendy's. My manager was Jamaican.
Mm-hmm.
She sat me down. She said, what are you doing? I said, I work here. She said, what do you do after you leave here? I said, I go home. I take care of my child. She said, you only have one job? And I was like, yes. I found out, I found out that everyone I work with at Wendy's
Mm-hmm.
had another job.
Oh.
Everyone I work with at Wendy's had another job. So when the opportunity for me to work at the photomat, they said, okay, fine, you can work from a photomat from 2:30 to 8. I said, oh, okay, I can do this because I wanted more. I wanted to get out and get my own place and everything. And because I wanted to do that, I knew that the salary, the part-time job I was doing at Wendy's wouldn't do it because I was only working for Wendy's from 6 a.m. until 11 during the rush hour. So that paycheck was enough money to actually rent an apartment. Then I needed more money, to rent an apartment.
It seemed like, well, what was the price point back then? Was it like, what was the minimum wage back then? Do you remember?
Minimum wage was $3.35. Yes, because it stayed $3.35 in Maryland for years.
Got you.
$3.35. So I think when I got my job at Photomat, it was a little bit more. I think it was making like $4.50 or $4.75.
And
And
that
then
was
when
a
I
raise.
yeah, right. So when I worked at the dark room, so when I worked at the dark no, it was 3.35. I was making 3.35 at Wendy's. It was like 3.75 at Photomat, and then when I worked at the dark room, it's $4 an hour. So at the dark room, they were paying me. I was full time and everything. The manager there loved the way they structure their job because you got a half a day once a week that allow you to appointments and attend kids' school plays and everything like that. So working at the dark room, the manager was great and everything, but I still knew that I needed more. I needed more. But from there, how I got into coding, a lady, I was doing like passport photos and everything at the dark room. A woman came in and she was starting up her own business. And she said, I like the way you handle yourself. She said, I want you to be a coder. And I was like, I never heard of medical coding or anything like that before. She said, well, I'm going to start you off with $9 an hour.
Hmm.
Ooh, that was good.
Double your
$9 an hour
impact,
back in the
right?
day. Yes. Sign me up. I'll be there. What time you want me to be there? So basically, I don't know nothing about coding or anything like that. So she hired me to be a coder in her office and everything. She said, well, we'll teach you how to code. I said, okay, fine. So basically in her office, I worked there for a year. Management, they had some financial problems, whatever. But anyway, because I was inexperienced, didn't know anything about coding or anything like that, I was the first one fired. I was the first one to let go out of that, company. So basically what I did was I said, okay, it was my first time ever being unemployed. And, I can't, I have to work. So anyway, I went on unemployment for about 3 months, but I wasn't like on unemployment just sitting home. I was in school. I was in school learning about coding. Let me dive into this medical billing and medical field because I feel they can go somewhere. And then from there, I went to Medics, and from there I got hired at the company called Metris to do credit cards. And then from there, still in the back of my mind, I wanted to be a physician assistant or deal something with medical coding. So while I was working at Metris, I went to Medics to actually learn more about coding, which kind of like led me to the position where I am now, where I have experience still doing medical billing and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like how that one no, kind of like, I'm gonna show you I can do it.
Right,
That's what it
right.
sounds like. It's like, you don't tell me no, I'm gonna make it work. Um, that's interesting. That's probably where I get that from. I
Mhm,
didn't even know about it. Like to not give up and also to work multiple jobs because I think, yeah, when I was growing up, I worked at the movie theater, I worked at Fridays, I worked at Best Buy,
mhm.
and I was still selling kitchen cutlery at the same time. So I was doing like 4 jobs and then plus going to school.
Right.
So practically like 5 things I'm juggling at one time. And I was just never in the house. Um, because it was one of those things I still tell this story. It's like one of those things I was running away from is when we had, I call it wish sandwiches, where you wish you had some meat to go inside the bread.
Right.
uh, and I remember making those syrup sandwiches where all we had left was like some bread and then we'll find some butter, what's left in a container. Used to use the
Mhm.
was it country cricket,
Country Crock, yeah.
yeah, country crock butter, and then throw that. And that was when we were learning how to make toast. I think that was the first thing we learned how to make.
Right. Right, with the sausage.
Yeah, and so learning how to use the toaster because we didn't have a what's it called, a little toaster. We just had to use the oven. And so he told us how to use the oven.
Right.
And so I remember those days. And it was funny that, well, Zim, he was like, have you ever had butter on toast and make a peanut butter jelly sandwich? And I was like, yeah, that's what I grew up with.
That's a staple in the house, yeah.
Right. Can you talk about the use of spaghetti? Because to this day, I refuse to make spaghetti because you made it so much.
I
Why
love
spaghetti?
spaghetti.
That's why.
Growing up, we didn't get, okay, growing up, like I said, my mom, she cooked all the time. She even had a card catalog full of Betty Crocker cooks and things like that.
Mhm.
But growing up, my mom don't like pizza, so we didn't eat pizza. But when you were younger and everything like that, we got pizza like every Friday. That was a staple. But far as spaghetti, it was just something I love. I mean, because when I was younger, like when my mom did have to go to work, when she started working, I had to rush home to cook and everything like that for my brothers and then before my mom got home. So basically, it wasn't like cooking a TV dinner or nothing like that. Oh no, I had to cut up a whole chicken, put the whole chicken inside the oven. We have mashed potatoes up and everything like that. I have the greens because that's something else I passed along too. We have to have a full course meal. You know, your meat, your starch, your vegetables, your meat, your starch. That's something my mom taught us as well. But that's what I passed along to you. But when I discovered Prego sauce, oh my goodness, I love spaghetti. It's just something I
Uh,
like. Yeah. And it's quick. And it could last 2 days.
yeah, that is true.
Yeah. I might fix some tonight.
Because I think Prego means like you're welcome. I forgot. I think that's what it means.
In Spanish, I'm not really sure.
No, in Italian.
In Italian.
Yeah. And it's funny that I'm thinking people, if y'all here and just fact check me. I was just thinking. But one of the things that because you told us how to you talk about stretching the dollar. Even when that spaghetti got old, you like you better put some ketchup on it and put it back in the pot. And it wasn't Heinz ketchup. It was like whatever ketchup you could get. Remember it was Stop, Shop, and Save? I think that's what it
Right.
was. No.
Mm.
What's the one place where we had to get our own boxes because they didn't do bags?
Save a Lot. Save a Lot was
Save
kind
a
of like
lot.
Aldi, like
Yeah.
Aldi. You don't see Save a Lots anymore. Like Aldi took over, which Aldi is cheaper than Save a Lot. Come find out, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And Mary's Steakhouse. Like we used to go there every now and then
Yeah,
to get the
right.
meat for the
Yep. That's when we moved from Essex because remember we lived in Essex for a while. Yeah, so I moved from Essex, yeah, to Baltimore. Yeah, I
so
became a homeowner. So after all that work and then everything like that, finally bought a house, purchased a house. Yeah. So to me, that was a good moment to finally be able to, become a homeowner.
like what was something that you had to overcome in your 20s that like if this didn't work out, you didn't know what else to do?
Okay. So basically, when I was in between jobs, because I was in between Photomat, after I left Photomat, I had your brother and everything. After that, I was just, my deal was I wasn't going back to Photomat. I wasn't going back there. And at that time, I was like, I just need to find another job. And so I grabbed a newspaper and I just like, Photomat had on maternity leave. So basically it was like, I need to figure this out. I need to, either get a job or live on a system, get another job. And that's when I got the job for the dark room. I would say that probably was, yeah, yeah, because, and also in my 20s, the one where I would say, well, I was let go.
Mhm.
I was let go. Was that my 20s when I was let go? Or my 30s? Yeah, no, most of my 20s I was at the dark room because I remember being at the dark room for 7 years. And when I applied for unemployment, the guy said, well, they don't want to keep you. And I was like, I've been there for 7 years. But this time I had worked another job. So basically, okay, as far as you say this wouldn't work out, I would actually say when I was, take that back, when I was unemployed and I went to school, instead of going out to find a job, I actually went to school. And then the school was ending. The school time was ending. My unemployment was ending. And I was like, okay, so what do I do now? I need to find a job. I'm going to find a job in the medical field. So yes.
That was it.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. I need to find a job in the medical field. But I wasn't in my 20s. I would say I was in my early 30s when that happened. I need to find a job in the medical field. And I'll do whatever it takes to find a job in the medical field. Yeah.
So what would be the hardest part of being a parent?
I don't know. Because you were a pretty good kid. Yeah. You were a pretty good kid.
Until you beat me with the belt. That's a whole nother story. We're not going to cover that. But
oh, yeah. I'll know the story another time.
Yeah.
I was determined you were not going to be like certain people.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about like, well, because our family, the way how it's set up, what was the reason why we don't hang out? Like, you didn't bring us around our cousins when we were younger. I wanted to ask you that a while ago.
Which cousins?
The ones in Cherry Hill?
I didn't know them too well either. My mother, they were only, actually, we do have a lot of family in Cherry Hill. I will say that. When I went to my cousin's funeral, I found out that the ones that were living in Cherry Hill, they no longer, your generation and my generation, they basically moved out of Cherry Hill. My mom's generation, they lived in Cherry Hill. I didn't know them that well. We only saw them on Christmas, basically. And, funerals and stuff. But I found out that when I went to my cousin's funeral, that a lot of them, I sat right next to one, didn't even know her. Until my other cousins, she said, "Do you know what she is?" I said, "No." She said, that's your cousin. This girl in her 30s. I've never seen her before. I know her mom, who her mom is, but a lot of my relatives that lived in Cherry Hill, they moved out. Yeah.
I mean, I was just curious because I was like, I know we have a lot of family, but we didn't hang out a lot with mostly family. But also it makes sense because of the lifestyle that you had because of work. And all of us were in our own routine and bubbles.
Right. Because of work. And also, and I think also growing up, like my mom, we basically went around our cousins during the holidays, but everybody else is from West Baltimore. So we moved to North Baltimore. And I guess sometimes it's not far. I mean, considering like I live almost in Virginia now, so to get to Baltimore, but back then, you're kind of like on the other side of the city. We didn't socialize too much. Yeah.
And plus with public transportation, I think because you're the one who told me how to remember the bus lines.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. So I still remember some of the stuff you told me.
Oh, good. Yeah. But my mom, she told us we were, again, 10, 12 years old. We would catch the bus. We had a Super Sunday pass. We would actually catch the bus to the other side of town. Yeah.
I remember those cold days. And I remember when you got your glasses or you were in between glasses and you told me that he was like, "What's that bus number?" And I was like, that's the 5. He's like, "Well, we need the 15. Let us know when the 15.
Where were we going?
I don't know. I just remember it was raining.
Before I bought the house?
It was at the dark room. Because I remember leaving, because most of my childhood memories is from being in the dark room, like behind the counters and stuff like that. Yeah.
You're only 2 years old.
Well, I don't know. I just know that that's what I remember.
No.
You think it was the little containers and stuff like that so we can put money into them.
Oh, yeah. No. You were, okay. Yeah, you were 5. Yeah, I worked in the dark room. You were 5.
That was funny.
Yeah. Film containers. But who would have thought the dark room would be out of business? So I'm glad I did pivot into a different career.
I mean, with technology, and that's one of the things is that that I'm noticing is I've been doing this podcast for about 5 years, going on 6 years now,
I'm so
is
proud of you
that,
about your podcast.
oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well,
And one of the things is that I've noticed that when it comes to when we in impoverished areas, we don't focus on the future, kind of focus on the right now. How can we put food on the table right now?
mhm.
Not looking at the global impact of where things are going and how can we position ourselves so that we are not left behind or um, unknown of what's going on. You know, thankfully somebody told you a long time ago, put that nugget in your head about at least schooling, or different things that are out there for you to at least try.
Mhm.
What would you say to the person that's listening who didn't know or wish they would have known? I guess you could say, what is it that you have known now that you kind of wish that you can tell somebody that is younger to kind of start looking at things a little differently?
I would say try to keep updated, like you said, with the changes and with the news. Try to, although um takes basically take steps. So either try to self educate yourself because it's funny. Like when you leave high school, you're so conditioned. Well, when I left high school, I was so conditioned to the teacher teaching you this and you're learning here and learning there and everything like that. But never stop wanting to learn or want to know new information. So basically, instead of getting information from the teacher, try to get information from, listen to the news, basically watch the news to keep you up, you know, so you know what's actually going on, know what's coming because like AI is not coming, AI is here and always keep updated, you know. That's what I would say to a new person. Just although you're worried about your situation now, about, food or clothing and everything, but it's never this time is never gonna stay the same. It's never gonna and I think that's what I learned when my father passed away, because I always learned that whatever situation I'm in now, it could change because my father, he left and didn't come back home. So I always took it that this can change. This can change the drop of the hat. You have to be ready for the change.
So we come into the third segment, which is the futures, talking about change. How are you preparing for the future?
I'm preparing for the future. Oh my goodness. I'm learning. So trying to learn about AI and how
Hmm.
AI is going to actually affect my job my current position I have now. Um, I'm reading different news feed and basically trying to stay up on what's going on because once AI can basically do the job that I have, but how I am valued at my job, things that I can actually personally do to study my worth and my value. That's what I'm doing now. Just like I said, AI is here. People say AI is coming. No, AI is here. Right.
So, what are the habits that you're gonna do to kind of help your day to day? Like, so what are you doing for personal development? What are you doing to improve?
Personal development. I'm learning, trying to keep updated with the background of what's going on in my job. Trying to educate myself more about, the background and, like I said, how I can be more valuable. Just having um, the personal effect, or you know, that's what I'm basically doing.
What does retirement look like for you?
That's a good question because to me, retirement is not going to be. I'm just going to sit home. That's not me. I can't just sit home and just relax or whatever. But retirement is what I'm going to do next. I plan to travel. I'll send you a postcard. I'm staying here for a month, or that's
Hmm.
what my plan is. I'll be in another country for about a month and send you a postcard or something. But that's what retirement. Hopefully, next 5 years, get my finances together and get everything, go back to my budgeting, pay everything off. And yeah, so we in our retirement home right now. So I don't look to, we're already downsized. I don't look to downsize anymore, but that's what retirement pretty much look like.
Yeah. So what would
Yeah.
a perfect birthday look like for you at this age?
A perfect birthday.
Or a perfect
That is
day? Let's do a perfect day because, like you said, things can change in an instant. So
I value time. If we could spend time together.
eating.
Yeah.
We will eat some. Right.
Well, no, well, no, because I think spending time together is more valuable than anything. Spending time. Hmm.
Is there anything you want to leave somebody that we haven't talked about yet? Before we dive into the final 4 questions?
Anything I would want to leave, I would say this situation that you're in now, look at it that it's not going to be this way all the time, and keep striving, keep looking, keep reaching, never stop reaching, never stop striving, keep doing that until you reach your goal. And once you reach that goal, make another goal. But I will always say, plan. Always, always plan. Always plan. And I heard one thing I would pass along that I heard, that failures aren't failures. Failures are experiences. Yeah. Yeah. And I heard that someone said.
Okay. So you're not trying to claim it.
No, I'm not going to claim that one. Well, and something else my grandmother said before she passed away. My grandmother, Maisie, she said, each generation sacrifice for the next. Yes. Mm.
And what do you think you sacrificed?
What I sacrifice?
Yeah.
I probably sacrifice time. Yeah. I probably sacrifice time. Yeah.
Was there something that you wanted to be that you haven't had a chance to be? Like, was there a
Yes.
dream? What was that?
I wanted to be a school teacher.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wanted to be a
What
school
subject?
teacher. Well, it didn't have to be a subject. It just had to be my students. So
Okay.
that's the reason why when y'all was, so that's the reason why when y'all were younger, after y'all got finished doing your homework, y'all had my class. I remember I used to line y'all up in the chairs and everything like that. And we used to have like school.
I don't remember, but okay.
You don't remember? Oh, we have pictures. That's okay.
Okay.
And then also, what I used to do is I used to cut out like for the summertime because, during the summer, y'all didn't have summer school or anything like that. But I would do like a little booklet for y'all to complete, newspaper clippings and everything like that for you all to complete, to read the newspaper clipping goes back in the day. Yeah.
Well, I remember you used to have us, but this was when we were older. Look at the horoscopes and different articles.
The
That's all I can
horoscopes?
remember.
Really?
Yeah,
No,
we
it
used
was
to look at
different.
newspaper. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the newspaper. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take your word
Yes.
for it.
Okay.
Let's see. So you ready for the final 4 questions?
Yes.
All right. So question number 1. What does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means to me able to spend time with family members. Able to spend time. If I wasn't working, I think that's what I would be doing. I would spend time with family members.
Number 2. What was your worst money mistake?
Now, worst money mistake. That is a good question. I would say my worst money mistake was I was trying to invest in start my own business with makeup products. Can I say that or okay? Starting my own business with makeup products, spending money that I really didn't have, thinking that I could be a promise to be successful in this makeup industry. Right? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they call them MLMs. So multi-layered marketing.
Marketing. Okay.
Yeah. It's they call it MLMs. I want to make sure I get the right definition. Yeah, multi-level marketing companies. Yep.
Multi-level marketing company. Okay, investing into that.
Okay. Number 3. Is there a book that inspired your journey or changed your perspective?
Yes, there was a book that I read a while ago. It was called Pay Yourself First by Jess Brown. That book was pretty good. That book was basically, like I said, pay yourself first and invest into your how to multiply your savings and also have an emergency savings, because that's the reason why a lot of people go into financial debt is because when the unexpected happens, you don't have that nest egg. You don't have anything to actually fall back on, but pay yourself first. They teach you that to build your nest egg or to build your emergency fund.
Right. Number 4. What is your favorite dish to make? I think you already talked about this a little bit, but
Spaghetti. You can have spaghetti with sausage. You can have spaghetti with green peppers. You can have spaghetti.
with hot dogs.
Yep,
Yeah,
spaghetti.
that's the reason why I don't buy hot dogs. Like hot dogs with beans, hot dogs and spaghetti, hot dogs by themselves.
Yeah.
I was surprised you didn't say bread pudding because you used to make that too.
Bread pudding. I like sweet potato pies too. I like that. But,
But spaghetti is the number one. Okay.
I love pasta. I don't know why, but I like pasta. I won't do the macaroni, but I like spaghetti.
All right. Well, Mom, this was a great time catching up with you, learn a little bit more about your past and learn a little bit more about grandma and seeing how things were growing up.
Yeah, she did the best she could with the knowledge that she had from her generation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the goal of parents too, is just kind of set the platform for the kids to launch off of. And all you can do is do your best.
Right. With the knowledge that you have or the knowledge that you get from throughout the years.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap this up, because usually most people are like on social media, but since you're not, what is it that you want to leave your sons a message to wrap this show up? What will be your life lesson message?
Keep striving, I'm proud of you all, for how you turned out, because who knew? Yeah. But
Thank
the
you, Mom.
message, you're welcome. I would say keep striving, keep, doing what you're doing. Never stop learning. Never stop. Be 80 years old. If you want to learn how to shoot a rocket or do something, yeah. Never stop learning.
So if you were to sum up your life in one word, what word would you give it?
I would say amazing right now, because taking everything that I've learned and things I've done, and yeah. I found at my older age, I'm more daring. Like I went ziplining, so it's like more daring now. So it was like, okay. But I would say, I don't know, life is amazing. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mom, for stopping by.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we can definitely obviously gotta catch up more.
Right.
Come visit more. Yeah.
Yeah, next time you come over, I won't have spaghetti. Well,
Thanks.
we had salmon the last time.
Yeah, we did have salmon last time. Yeah, that was good. You did a good job with that. Nothing like Mom's cooking.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Welcome. All right, Mom. Well, for you who are listening right now, I just want to say, remember to do not put both shoes on at the same time, because you can always hurt yourself. Remember to give yourself patience, take your time, and do it right the first time. All right. Y'all be safe. We out.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.